We continue our position-by-position breakdown here at SeniorBowl.com, looking back at the Reese's Senior Bowl with Executive Director Phil Savage. And Phil, we went through the offensive line. Now we're going to switch to the other side of the ball and look at the big boys on that side of the line.
Yeah, and of course the defensive line, we ran a 4-3 here at the Reese's Senior Bowl, so we tried to find 4 starters, 2 interior linemen, 2 outside defensive end types. But on the inside, really a no-brainer. Danny Shelton, the powerhouse from the University of Washington, 6'1 1/2", 343 pounds. He can just demolish the interior of an offensive line. The next player on the inside was Carl Davis, and I thought the player from Iowa really showed the most in terms of gaining the most ground. Now people are talking about him as a potential first rounder. Now he's different than Shelton because he's taller and a larger body in terms of a lengthier type body. He's 6'4 1/2", 321 pounds, but he was our player of the week in terms of the practices when we gave the awards at the end of the Reese's Senior Bowl week. On the outside, how about Preston Smith from Mississippi State? He's not a flashy rusher, but he's 6'5", 270 pounds. He's got long arms, and he really understands how to play with leverage against the run and the pass. And then the other defensive end in our starting front 4 was O-squared, Owamagu Odigizua from UCLA. And he's a player that sometimes ends up trying to rush too much into the middle of an offensive blocker. So he's got to become a little more edgy and get on the corners of these offensive tackles. But I thought he was very solid, and he always plays hard. But I thought he had a positive week as well.
Give me your next tier of guys who have showed some upside, showed some flashes during the week, but didn't crack that top 4.
Well, I thought a player that really showed a lot in terms of some individual reps, and he was a lot to contend with as an inside rusher, was Joey Mbu, the defensive tackle from Houston. Now he's really under the radar because Houston is not a powerhouse program or well-known program, but he came in and he definitely showed the ability to potentially be a starter in the future. And then at defensive end, Zadarius Smith from Kentucky. Now the reason I like him is because he has position flexibility. He can play outside. He could also kick into the inside and maybe be a potential sub-rusher on 3rd down from a defensive tackle position. But he's 270 pounds, and I thought he showed some potential to get on the field next year as a rotational type of defensive lineman.
And you got a couple players that fit into my favorite category, your lunch pail blue-collar guys.
Yeah, let's start from the inside and work outside. On the inside, Grady Jarrett, the shorter, sawed-off defensive tackle from Clemson. Now, he's only 6'1", 288 pounds, but he's very quick. He can get upfield and penetrate an offensive line, and he always plays hard. And then at defensive end, he's really more of a 5 technique, fits a 3-4 defense, is Henry Anderson from Stanford. Now, he's 6'6", 287 pounds. He easily can get into the 300-pound range, and with that kind of height and length, he's exactly what the 3-4 teams are looking for because they have to be almost like posts against the run, and Henry Anderson can do that. But plus, he's got the ability to rush the passer in flashes and in doses. So Henry Anderson and Grady Jarrett, to me, they're 2 players that you know exactly what you're going to get from them on a down-to-down basis.
All right, so that's the offensive line and defensive line we've touched on. Coming up next, we're going to look at the intermediate players, as you call them. That's running backs, linebackers, tight ends, kind of that.
Yeah, we're going to move from the heavyweights to the intermediates here in our next video session.
So stay tuned to more at SeniorBowl.com.